Hi everyone, my name is Rhonda Robson and welcome to my Fluid Art channel. Today's video is in a series that I'm titling Fluid Art Pouring 101. And today is the 7th part of that series, and we're going to talk about tools and what type of tools are out there and what type of tools can you just find around the house. So if you're new to Fluid Art and this is the first time you're joining in, I have all the links down below of what types of techniques, what types of consistency, how to prepare your area, what materials you need. All that stuff is in this series. So just click on a couple of the links down below and you can go back to some of the ones that I've already previously done. Let me get you going and show you all the many different tools that you can use in Fluid Art. All right, thanks for joining me. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing and clicking that notification bell. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. All right, bye for now. Bye. Hi everyone. Well, as my intro talked about, we're going to talk about tools today. And we're in the series of 101 Fluid Art Pouring Paints. And I'm really trying to do this to help, especially those of you who are new, to just get started. And there's a lot of tools here and it feels probably a little overwhelming for a beginner. So I do want you to watch that 101, the very first part that I have about just the basic tools. So these are a lot of different tools that I utilize in a lot of my pours. So I want to go through them and I talk about the different ways I utilize them in the pours that I do. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to talk about the scale. So I use the scale with my consistencies as a guide, and it is a tool that I use every time I mix my paints, but it's not exact. And if you want to know about my consistencies, I have some links down below, as well as I'll put it at the top of this video so that you can go there to learn about how I mix my consistencies for thin, medium, and thicker consistency. So, so that's the scale. That's a tool I utilize. I also utilize paint brushes, and I have decided that I spend I like to spend more money on my paint brushes than I initially did. At first I was buying these ones, which were super inexpensive, but they don't hold up. They don't really brush that well, and they fall apart. So I really like these more expensive tools, and I utilize this for the sides of my canvases, and sometimes I utilize it to spread my paint. So you can utilize these also for if you're doing acrylic painting as well, but most of the time I utilize it for my pouring and for sides, and then maybe to do it across the canvas. So I utilize those quite a bit. The other paint brushes that I utilize a lot that I don't have out here are my ones like this, and I use these for, a lot of times I'll use them for making texture in something, and I really like these too as well. They're nice and thin, low, and I can utilize it like that. So I utilize these brushes as well. These are expensive, so I would recommend you just getting one for now. And if you need to start with just a paintbrush that you have around the house, just start with that. I did. Right? Okay, so those are my paint brushes. I put those off to the side. Some of the other tools that I utilize when scraping paints, I'll utilize this. And if I'm doing a big swipe, I'll utilize it. But I don't utilize this in my swipes because I tend to dig here and dig here. So I actually utilize this to scrape up extra paint, and then I pour it into a cup and I utilize that extra paint. So I have a knife like this, and then I have different sizes of palette knives. This is a nice one to do little swipes in. It also helps to dig a little bit, but again, I catch it here and I catch it there when I'm swiping, so I just have to be very careful when I'm doing that. And then I have these that help me dig things out of something, like if I got some dry paint in it, and I also utilize it for swipes as well. So again, though, I'm noticing that for me, I tend to dig here and I tend to dig here. So if you're just going to go across really slightly and you need to do something, or you need to dig something out, the palette knives work well. And I've got a number of different sizes of palette knives. Talking about swipes, I actually use just pieces of plastic that I have collected. Sometimes they've been in canvases, sometimes they've been in other things, but I actually like the plastic pieces way better than I do utilizing the palette knives. And the other thing I utilize, which I use every time I do any type of pour, because I wipe my hands with and I wipe things off, my tools and stuff, but I'll also swipe with a paper towel as well. So those are the tools that I use for my swiping. Let me put my palette knives away. I'll also use, to get different types of looks, a spoon, and I have a plastic spoon here. I haven't utilized it, it's nice and shiny, you can see that, but I brought it down because I wanted to do something that was a little bit more rounded instead of flat here. So I've got my spoons. I'll also do different types of designs utilizing a fork, utilizing a device like this, or different types of combs. I have like an entire, I got these for like $5, all these different combs. And so I utilize those as well to scrape my paintings and make different designs. I have this one too. These are more expensive than these. So again, this was like, I think a group of these were like $5, and I seriously got these combs, I think, for less than $5. But this right here itself is $5 or $10. So you don't need to use that, but something that you can make designs. So I'll scrape it and turn it to make like a arc shape. I can also do it this way. I can do it scrape this way. So I do like that tool. I utilize a spatula to help me stir paints, as well as scrape it and get the excess paint. So I scrape the bowl or I scrape the cup, whatever it is, but I utilize spatulas all the time as well. I have a number of them. And then I utilize this basting tool. It's a really cool device that gives me all kinds of fun designs as well, just similar to like the fork too. So I utilize that. So that's another fun tool. And then I have all kinds of different sizes of colanders. This is a friend of mine gave these to me for Christmas, so I utilize them. And I have larger colanders as well. I use measuring cups from time to time just to make sure that either one I'm measuring, but honestly, I don't use the measuring part as much as I do dipping it and utilizing the measuring cups. So I will use a measuring cup from time to time. So I just got these really inexpensive too from like Walmart or Target or something like that. I'll use straws to help blow, as well as to get water. So I'll put it in water and utilize it too this way. The nice thing about the bendy straws is I can blow up here on this end, and I can move the paint, or I can do it this end, right? Depends on which way I feel like doing it. Just don't put it in the paint and then turn it over, right? I'll use a stick like this sometimes to make little curly cues. Sometimes I'll use my palette knives as well. So it just kind of depends on what works best for you. This one just happens to be like a really point, and then this one right here is for your cuticles. So I just had an extra one, so I use it. The other thing I really like to utilize is a balloon. So you can see this is one I've used a number of times. It's almost out, but if I want to make certain things, I just dab it, or if I want to make it bigger, more pronounced, I go like that. So this one's almost, I almost need a new balloon, but I don't want to waste. So I have the balloon. You can see that I also utilize paper towels and toilet paper dispensers. And I will, or dispensers, toilet paper rolls, and I'll actually dip them in paint, and I'll transpose paint all the time. So I have those. And I'll do it with cups too. So different sizes of cups. I have all kinds of them. So that I'll transpose paint. The other tools that I use on a regular basis is I'll use a little hammer, and this is mainly to help me get my push pins in or get them out, but most of the time I just use my fingers to put them in. But there are times that sometimes they're harder, and so I will use that hammer. I use a pair of scissors all the time to cut tubes and dig paint out. And then I do need my paint can opener for a couple of the things that I use. I don't tend to use house paint anymore, except for if I want to use it to make pearls. But I do use a Minwax pre-stain wood conditioner that I use as a cell activator. So I keep this around for myself. And then I keep a marker for myself to sign the back of my canvases, as well as to label my tea bottles that I put extra paint in, so that I know exactly what is in that paint, or if I have a cell activator, that type of stuff. And then the supplies, the other supplies that I use are different sizes of cups and wood sticks. And these are all clean because they haven't been used, but I use and reuse my sticks. And sometimes you can reuse your cups, but most of the time you can't because the paint dries and then you get flakes of paint. But I do reutilize these all the time. You can see some of these I've used a number of different colors, right? So don't be afraid to reutilize equipment. Clean it off and put it away. As long as you keep things going well, you clean your brushes, you still have a nice brush. This one right here has been used for a long time, and it's still nice and tight, and again, I utilize it all the time. So, and this right here is the last thing I'll talk about, and it is not a heat gun. It is a chef torch, and it's really small, simple to use. You can get them for 10 bucks. The nice thing about this is that you actually can help get rid of air bubbles or bring up cells if you have silicone in your paint. And I've used this, I've used a blowtorch, and the blowtorches are just too out of control, and really, honestly, all you need is a small little tool like this to be able to pop the bubbles. All right, so those are the different tools I use, and also a few supplies. And the last thing is just some type of plastic sheet or something to catch your paint with. And I use puppy pads. I got that from Julie Cuts, who is on Pouring Your Heart Out. And she used them, and I had some around the house from a long time ago, so I started using them, and they work great. And I reutilize my puppy pads all the time. So here's one that I just used this morning that I just got wrapped up, that I have some splots of paint on, right? And I've just let it dry, and I have now gone like this, and it's ready for the next time I need to mix my paints. So when I'm doing videos with a lot of paint, I'll utilize a brand new one, and but then I'll reutilize the puppy pads a lot. So these are the tools that I use. I just wanted to show you a few of them, and the ones that I use on a regular basis and consistently. And then the last thing, and I said last thing already once before, but I will utilize gloves too as well. So those are the supplies: gloves, puppy pads, cups, and sticks. And then my tools are my paintbrushes, my devices that I use to scrape with, a few true tools, which is your torch, your hammer and a pair of scissors and an opener, and then just some different odds and ends to give you different designs for the paintings that you're looking at doing. So anyway, if you have any questions, please put that down below and let me know, and I will get back to you on answering the best of my knowledge of what I like to do and what tools I use for my own fluid art. Okay, everyone. Well, I forgot one really important tool, and that is my hair dryer. And as you can see, it's very well used. That was the color of the hair dryer before I started doing Dutch pours. The key to a hair dryer, though, is to get very low cool air. So this one is actually too hard, and I'm actually looking for a new one, but it works for now. But this is how high it goes. Way too high. That's how low it goes, but it's still too much. But anyway, so I'm looking for a little larger one, and I also, instead of the small air thing, I want a little longer one as well. But the key here is you want cool air and you want low wattage. You don't want it to be too strong for your different paint, because with Dutch pours, the paint is very thin and it spreads everywhere, and you just want to be careful and you want to control that. So that is a device that I utilize as well. That is one of my very important tools that I forgot to mention in all the other tools. So I wanted to make sure I put that on there in the video. All right, thanks. Okay, so the very last, but the very most important tool in fluid art is your level. And I'm going to be really honest with you. It is so important to have a level surface. When you are doing any type of a pour and it's unlevel, it's going to shift. And you can watch it. If you watch some of the videos very fast, you can see in some of my videos, actually, before I leveled this table out again, you could just see it shifting from one side to the other. And that's so disappointing when you've done something and spent so much time on it, and then you left it one way and you come back and it's totally different. So a level is extremely important to have, probably the most important tool in your entire toolbox. I have 3 here because when I first started out, the only level I had was this teeny tiny one, and I was using smaller pieces anyway. I was using smaller canvases, so it didn't really matter, but I noticed very quickly that depending on how big my canvas was, this small one just didn't work. So I ended up looking around my house, and I actually found this big one right here first, but then I went and purchased this one here, because sometimes I have a smaller canvas and the big one just kind of is a little bit clumsier. But I utilize them all except for this one. I don't utilize the small one unless I'm hanging something up, and then I'll utilize the small one. But I utilize these 2 bigger ones all the time, and it's so important to have a level surface. So I wanted to just talk specifically about this tool, as it is one of the most important tools in your entire toolbox. All right, thanks. Bye. All right, the next in my 101 series is actually talking about layering your paints, because layering your paints actually matters. And if you're looking for consistency, I've got those links as well. If you're looking about how to prepare your area or preparing your canvases, those are all videos that I've already done, and so make sure that you check those out if you're interested in. All right, well, thanks for joining me. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing, clicking that notification bell, and if you like it, give me a thumbs up on this video. All right, bye for now. Bye. Bye.
Thanks for watching, and if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so that way you can get notified when I have a new video up. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.